Footage coming out of Afghanistan has been harrowing to watch and will be etched in the memories of many. Parliament was urgently recalled to discuss the matter as Afghan translators, foreign aid workers and British nationals struggled to flee the country. I went to speak to former International Development Secretary Rory Stewart to get his take on the matter, as he's been vocal about how the UK government should have handled the exit strategy from Afghanistan.
I think Boris Johnson, he seems to be sad, but basically I think he agreed with Biden. He thought the whole thing was a bit of a dead loss. America was leaving, and I don't think he wanted to put much effort into hanging around. So once that decision was made, it's not very surprising that the Prime Minister, the Foreign Secretary and others disengaged from the situation.
So we've seen some really harrowing footage coming out of Afghanistan and some very emotive speeches in the House from the likes of former soldiers like Tom Tugendhat. So what has your reaction been to the events in Afghanistan?
I mean, really heartbreaking for millions of Afghans. But it's also completely bewildering because it was a totally random, unnecessary act. The West had this very light, sustainable presence. US, UK weren't losing casualties, only 2,500 soldiers left. And really, they could have stayed for the next 20, 30 years. So it's very easy for him to pretend that there was this enormous American and British troop presence, that we were hemorrhaging money and lives, and pretend we were still living in 2009. And that somehow there's no way we could have continued without losing all these lives and being stuck in the middle of the Civil War. Because there's nobody to say, this is nonsense, right? You had almost nobody there. All you were doing was providing a bit of air support, the Afghan military, and by doing that, you were stopping the Taliban from taking over the country. Right? No American soldiers were getting killed. I mean, this is just totally mad. Everybody's in trouble with the US now. Biden has basically shown that he doesn't really care about alliances and relationships. He's signaling an isolationist policy. He senses that Trump's America First was popular with voters. He hasn't had the courtesy to pick up the phone to other NATO leaders until very recently. Right? Kabul fell, and it was days before he bothered to get in touch with anybody to speak to them. No consultation, no real attempt to get a transition scheme in place. And I think this is just a real revelation that this is broken.
But I really think that it is an illusion to believe that there is appetite amongst any of our partners for a continued military presence or for a military solution.
So do you think that Boris Johnson is taking this country in a direction essentially more isolationist, not wanting to get involved in foreign wars and foreign conflict and focusing on issues at home?
He likes the pomp and circumstance of British foreign policy, right? He likes the idea that we have a foreign office and an army. He likes the idea of global Britain, but I don't think he's profoundly interested in the details of it or doing very much with it. You know, Tony Blair, John Major, Gordon Brown would have been on the phone to their American opposite numbers. They would have been working very closely with them through this process. Those days seem to have passed. They seem to have faded away.
Rory raises serious questions about the UK government's ability to handle foreign policy and if they even care.